What double standard disgusts you? If you owe a company money, you will be charged interest, late fee, service interruption almost immediately after the due date. If a company owes you money, you might see it in 4 to 6 weeks/2 to 3 billing cycles. A bank once made an error and asked my then wife if she could please reissue the check. She said, "Sure, once I've received payment of your £25 fine." They actually sent it. Edit to make it clear. Just to add to this, you miss your bill to your internet/cable provider by a day and you pay fees out your ass. Your service goes down for a week. Oh well, you get jack crap. To avoid legal issues, in my country, ISPs add a very small detail in the fine print that says subject to 80% reliability with guaranteed minimum connection speed of 512 kilobits per second. Similarly, you want to rent a home? Pay up front every month. In fact, we're going to need a security deposit on top of that, just to be sure. Someone wants to rent your labor? Yeah, we'll wait until the end of each billing cycle. Also, we get a discount for the first few weeks, after which we might decide that you're not a good fit. If you always arrive to work late, you're in big trouble. If work never finishes on time, shrug, no big deal. This is infuriating for me in a sales position. I constantly stay late or even have to come in on my off day to finish up a sale, because that's how I get paid. We still have scheduled hours, but me showing up 5 minutes late won't make a difference towards my paycheck because those 5 minutes definitely won't make me a sale. But they treat it like it's the absolute worst thing I could do. They've pulled up lists for each employee showing how many times we've been late by the minute. I was told I've been late 8 times for a grand total of 15 minutes over the last 6 months. This includes from lunch breaks as well. And I was told this was unacceptable and put on a warning. This same thing was said to majority of our sales employees. But we get no praise for working over or in finishing deals. It's crazy. I had an exit interview. I was leaving the job that paid better and had better bennies. My boss said, "You're late 5 minutes at least once a week." I said, "Man, if that's all you got, I'm the best employee you're ever going to have." Your former boss clearly has no idea why you do exit interviews. One last chance to crap on the employee, clearly. I did an exit interview with the head of HR at a very small company, 50 employees. The president and CEO decided to sit in on the interview, which to me is unprofessional, and the first criticism I mentioned, he immediately started bashing me, defending the poor manager. I didn't share my full thoughts after that. Completely defeated the purpose of the interview. So it is somewhat understood how bad this company was. I worked there for just under 2 years and was the 15th most tenured person there in a company of less than 50 employees, counting the 2 founders. The employee turnover was that bad. I offered to work extra hours in a salaried position to get the company over a hurdle if they do the honorable thing and comp me hour for my trouble. Outright refused, because you're salaried, even though my giving up a few weekends would make a huge difference for their bottom line. So when they tried the extra hours mandatory free overtime thing later, I told them to piss up a rope. Nice. F them. Right now in Canada, we're in strict lockdown, but a dozen of our politicians have been found vacationing around the globe. In other words, we can't bury grandma at a funeral, but these politicians can go work their tan. Thankfully, many of them have resigned in the last 2 weeks. Fellow Albertan here. They haven't actually resigned, they're only being demoted out of their parliamentary roles. They're still going to be MLAs, except for Kenny's chief of staff, who was hired not appointed. Like for example, Tracy Allard resigned from her municipal affairs minister role, but she's still the MLA for her riding. It's disgusting the entitlement these people have. In America, the politicians can barely get the words out of their mouth by the time they're breaking the rules. None of them ever resign either. Hell, in California, a city councilwoman literally voted to ban indoor dining and then immediately went out to eat following the vote. Here in Denver, the mayor made a statement about staying home for Thanksgiving from the effing airport. One politician in Canada pre-recorded their holiday wishes to their constituents from home, and released it while out of the country. It did not go over well. Goes to show you how stupid politicians think the peasantry is. The employee should give 2 weeks' notice, anything else is unprofessional. But the employer will actively obscure their intentions until the very last minute. I trained my replacement once, who had been introduced to me as my assistant, so obviously I wanted to teach them the job properly. I came into work after my weekend and was called over by my boss and told that my assistant had transitioned into my position and thank you for helping them ease into the role. Edit. I did not realize so many people went through the same thing. Holy crap. I was in this scenario as the transitioned assistant, not knowing what was going to happen to the awesome woman who trained me. When I was able to quit the job, I walked in one morning and just left the keys on the desk. I was the only person who knew how to do multiple things, but fully felt they deserved nothing more. I've been there too. Unfortunately, for the company, I'd really only learned about 80% of the job when they fired my mentor. The 20% I hadn't learned involved legacy systems that rarely failed, but were critical to the operation. They didn't have any written documentation for these and were unwilling to buy it from the manufacturer. There were multiple diagnostic menus hidden behind secret codes, and even if you understood what needed to be done at a high level, the machines were nearly impossible to work on without documentation. I had supposedly been hired to help take care of the day-to-day work and free up my mentor's time for more important issues, so I was never trained on these systems. After my mentor was abruptly fired, I made multiple attempts to explain they just fired the only guy capable of maintaining a critical system, but it fell on deaf ears. They insisted it wasn't going to break, and if something did fail, I'd be able to figure it out on my own since I'd learned all the other, not intentionally obfuscated, systems so quickly. The crap finally hit the fan one day and were shocked when I explained to them, for the 5th or 6th time, that these systems were designed to be impossible to work on without insider knowledge that none of their current employees had and they refused to pay for. They suggested I call up my old mentor and ask him to explain it to me. I got out of there ASAP. Hope your old mentor eventually ended up telling them, sure, I'm happy to come consult for you. It will cost you their former yearly salary, per week, with a minimum of 3 weeks, and the first 3 weeks paid up front. Haha, this happened to my friend's dad. He made sure he was handsomely rewarded. Now he spends his days playing disc golf with his dog named Tank. I hired a person from another company I used to work for, and knew she was a good programmer. But when I was looking for work, I clued her in and told her she had to learn the cash register software before I left, or she'd be in a world of hurt. Nope. She didn't want to, so when I left, she was on her own. I started getting numerous calls at my new job from her and her boss. Okay, but you're paying me. I called the IT director and told him I'd answer questions and help if I were paid $200 an hour, just like the contract company who wrote the system. Never got another call. I felt bad for the woman, but I'm not working for free for a place that I had to leave before I went nuts. My dad was that person for a company he worked for. He quit out of the blue one day. From the company's POV, he'd already lined up a new job, and my mom was chastising him about burning bridges and not giving them the 2 weeks' notice. His response was that they didn't give other employees notice, including friends of his who had just had a child and needed the extra hours, and the company also gave an ultimatum to a woman who'd requested extra safety measures as she worked around radiation and was having a difficult pregnancy to either suck it up or be fired. I aspire to have the confidence and job security to be able to quit a job the way that the company deserves like that. Good for you. As employees, we have to look after each other. I don't like seeing people against others unless it's justified. Poor employee dragging others down. Holy crap, that's evil. Imagine being that assistant and constantly looking over your shoulder though, knowing what the boss is capable of. Edited to add assistant. They might have been told, hey, so-and-so is leaving the company in a couple of weeks and they want to keep it a secret. We aren't supposed to tell you, but we think you should know so you can absorb everything they teach you. Now we are using this as a trust exercise to see if you can keep this a secret. Then they are never told the real reason. If hearing, now we are using this as a trust exercise to see if you can keep this a secret, doesn't instantly set off your bullcrap alarm, you should be very worried. Also, you might have a bunch of repressed memories about Uncle Brian's touching basement. This is a big part of why I left my last job. I'd have 5 different people coming at me telling me about issues but demanding I didn't tell the other 4, and then another few coming up to me to find out what the original 5 were arguing about. I never spread any of the gossip, but like damn, I'm just here for a paycheck, not some daytime soap or reality show. Too much chaos for me. Beyond evil. I once worked a contract job and they let the permanent employees go by tapping them on the shoulder and telling them to come to the conference room. As they walked to the room, a very young HR rep crossed their names off a list. I was let go from the assignment that day, a phone call from the temp agency, and a few weeks later, so were the rest of the temps I was hired with except for 2 women. We called it the Columbus Day disaster. In all my years in corporate America, this was one for the books. I've been in that situation as a contract employee. My actual company, a contract house, had a 30-day notice clause with the customer. The full-time employees of that customer, no such luck. 90% of them were let go one day and the contractors were left twiddling their thumbs for the next month, with the remaining 10% of employees who weren't let go but were floundering. I was looking to move up at one workplace, so I figured out how to very effectively automate some of the more rote aspects of my job. I then went to my bosses and showed them how I just freed up about 30% of my time, which I told them I was looking forward to filling with some extra projects, whether it was something of their choosing, or with something similar to Google Time that Google employees use to work on interesting ideas. Nope. They canned me and happily took my automation and hired someone with a lot less experience for about $30,000 less. It was incredibly demoralizing in so many ways. F those people straight to hell. I did this with Excel spreadsheets. Showed them how 6 people in the team manually sorting out a data dump for 2 hours every morning was stupid and created a spreadsheet that did it with the press of a button. I was let go the next week, along with 2 other people from my team. 3 days after that I got a text message from the boss saying my spreadsheet wasn't working and could I take a look at it. Firstly, F no. Secondly, I had hidden all formulas and password protected most of them. Lastly, I had made one cell a linchpin for everything that needed a manual input to change the date to whatever the date was on the Monday of the week and buried that effort deep in the sheet. I did all of this to idiot-proof the sheet and stop people messing with formulas. Didn't realize it would be so satisfying. The nerve of those buttholes. I would have strung them along like those choosy beggars on Craigslist. Sure, no problem, I'll be there ASAP. Worked out in the end for me. This boss ended up screwing over his boss. He was that type of person, and was the sort of person that if someone was smarter than him, he went out of his way to make their lives hell. I suspect that is why I was the first on the chopping block. The boss that got stabbed in the back went to a new company and headhunted me. Now if I produce something like a spreadsheet, I'm rewarded, not fired. Now if I produce something like a spreadsheet, I'm rewarded, not fired. For the people reading this thread, make damn sure you know what kind of company you work for before you let them know about your spreadsheet or whatever it is in your industry. Good for you though, I am glad you got headhunted. It's very satisfying to work in a job where creative and efficient problem solving is valued. Do what I did and charge a consultation fee of $1,000 an hour. Way too low. They fired 3 people. That's a $100K a year right there. They pay out at least that much as a one-time payment. This is why you don't let the bosses know that you've automated things. If you can find a way to be like Bob from Verizon, well, don't get caught like Bob, at least. Web link. Or if you do, make sure the automation will quickly break without your expert knowledge. I'm done with this one entirely. A few employers I've given 2 weeks notice they've tried to cut it short and screw me out of a paycheck. The last one walked people out the door, routinely, the day of, despite the notice, and they had the audacity to tell me I was unprofessional. Like, why would I give you notice? You haven't respected it when a single one of my colleagues did. Just complete lack of perspective. Cigarette butts. They're not biodegradable and it's a fire hazard. We have issues with coffee cups, plastic bottles, etc., but we're totally fine with cigarette butts. If you're a smoker, make sure it only hurts you and nobody else. I just don't understand why lazy smokers feel it's okay to leave their butts on the ground, toss them out the window, and so on. They'll be within 10 feet of a trash can and still just litter. Why is this acceptable? Edit because this blew up overnight. 1. I apologize for being too general. I know not all smokers are like this, and thank you to the responsible smokers who are tidy. 2. Good luck to the many who commented that they are in the process of quitting. You can do it. I think if it's still lit, even a little, it can cause a trash can fire. I heard the best thing to do is keep a little metal case in your pocket, then dispose of them all later when you're sure they're out. A woman with her kids is taking care of a man with his kids is babysitting. I went to the bank with my kids once and I got hit with being Mr. Mom. I am their primary caregiver. I get hit with that crap when I take my kids to the physician. I didn't bring a pacifier when my infant got a shot, he didn't need one anyway, and the nurse says don't worry, I won't tell your wife. I snapped back and said I'm the one who made the damn appointment. My dad got this bull crap a lot too. He was a single father. Doctors' offices are really weird about fathers attending appointments. My husband brought our daughter to the urgent care. The doctor asked several times why I wasn't there as if I was a crappy mother for not going and scolded him for everything including how he took off her onesie. It's so crafty that society makes it seem weird for men to parent. Mr. Mom, isn't that called dad? I was a stay-at-home dad for 2 years after I lost my job. The number of times I heard this was insane. Thank you for watching. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube. And share them with your friends. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. We welcome your comments below. Another of our videos will begin shortly.